you ready to raise your game at Fork Union Military Academy? Sometimes described as the West Point of high schools, Fork Union is a leading college preparatory Christian boarding school for young men grounded in the structure of discipline of the traditional military academy model, and scholarships are available. Fork Union Military Academy's athletic program has produced hundreds of college and professional athletes, including 6 Olympians, 2 Heisman Trophy winners, and more than 120 NFL players. Fork Union Military Academy is a private school and is independent of any direct military affiliation or obligation. Schedule a tour and get started on your journey today by visiting forkunion.com. Fork Union Military Academy. Body, mind, spirit. It's the HoopWise podcast from New England Basketball Journal. Comprehensive look at the basketball landscape in New England, tracking prospects, recruiting, college, and more, with your hosts, Steve Hewitt and Ethan Fuller.
Welcome back to another episode of the HoopWise podcast, part of New England Basketball Journal. I'm Ethan Fuller, back as always with Steve Hewitt. We have got a guest back in studio. I feel like we haven't had an in-studio guest in a little while, so I'm excited to welcome in Cary Herer, head coach at Cats Academy boys basketball. Yeah, clap it up. Let's go. Cary's in his 5th season at Cats, but it's pretty exciting this year, especially because it's Cats' first season on the Nike EYBL Scholastic Circuit. So we're going to get into a little bit more about Cats in a little bit. The reason we're putting this episode out now is because there is local interest in an EYBL event coming up, the EYBL Scholastic Boston Showcase. So we don't see a lot of this in our state and region. A lot of national teams on the EYBL circuit, and Cats, of course, coming to Boston, Long Island Lutheran, Spire Academy, Tennessee Collegiate, Oak Hill, Cats, of course. It's going to be this upcoming weekend, February 13th to 15th at Curry College. Again, very, very rare opportunity to see a lot of these national programs come down here, so that's cool. So, Cary, thank you so much for joining us. We'll start quickly with talking about the event. What has you excited for this weekend?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. This is a major event for Boston. I think this is one of the most talented high school events Boston has ever seen. EYBL Scholastic, unbelievable teams, and really unbelievable prospects that you're going to see not only at the high major Division I level, but you'll see in the NBA. And the way things look, there are a lot of one and done. So in 2 years, they'll be in the NBA. So we're really excited to host this event, bring teams in from all over the country, Spire being the #1 team in the country as we speak. So it's a big event. We want as many people to come out and see it, February 13th, 14th, and 15th. We're just really pumped up to kind of host this event and show Boston what national high school basketball is all about.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm not going to list every nationally ranked player, but Dylan Mingo, obviously, for those who are on the national high school teams, a pretty big name on Long Island Lutheran. We've got like LJ Smith at Oak Hill, King Gibson at Spire, your team, of course, now on the EYBL Scholastic Circuit. And as you said, these events exist all around the country, but with your presence in EYBL Scholastic now, it allows it to kind of come here more, which is really cool. Behind the scenes, is there what kind of work has gone into preparing an event like this?
So there's a tremendous amount of work. So we have to figure out a way to bring these teams in. So the travel, the housing, the transportation, the meals, so all that goes in, and it's months and months of preparation, culminating with this upcoming weekend. So there's a lot of work that has to be done beyond just the basketball on the court.
Yeah. It's possible maybe some of our viewers watching this podcast or listening to this podcast might not know about some of these programs. Obviously, we're in this space, so we're pretty cognizant of the Spires and the Long Island Lutherans. But Spire head coach Kevin Boyle, formerly at Montverde, what should people expect from these teams? What should people know about kind of some of these teams that are coming from out of the region to come play here? What are some things that people should know about them?
So first of all, the EYBL Scholastic is very unique. So it it recruits kids from, the teams recruit kids from all over the world. So, you know, it's not a typical high school type environment where, like we just came back from Maryland, and we played 2 games first, AZ Compass and Link Academy. So Link has 9 high major commits. AZ Compass has 4 high major commits. And so what you're going to see is these kids that are committed to high major programs. You know, usually in New England, we see teams typically have maybe 2, the better teams, 2 high majors on the roster. Here you're seeing there could be times where 9 to 10 kids on the court are all committed to high major programs. You know, Link we just played had 2 kids committed to Michigan State, Gonzaga. I forget the others, but just high major talent. So the talent is what you're going to see out there. You know, you have Spire coming in, number 1 team in the country. Oak Hill, I'm not committing to this, but Carmelo Anthony is the general manager of Oak Hill Academy.
Oh,
usually he travels with the team, so we'll have hopefully a star element in the building. Tennessee Collegiate is a big, strong team. Don't have the high major prospects, but they have the talent. Very talented team. Lutheran, we talked about Dylan Mingo, but you know they have a history of sending kids to the NBA. They were a top 5 team last year.
Yeah. Just to quickly go over the schedule I have in front of me, but you guys will open the event on Friday night at 7:30 against Long Island Lutheran, and then there's 2 games Saturday, Spire against Tennessee Collegiate, Oak Hill against Long Island Lutheran. Those are at 6 and 7:30, and then Sunday is the capper, Oak Hill against Spire, and then you guys finish it off against Tennessee Collegiate Academy. I guess what do you've played Long Island Lutheran and Tennessee Collegiate. Like, what are you most looking forward to with those matchups? Like, give us a little preview of those 2 games that you're preparing your guys for.
So it really doesn't matter in EYBL Scholastic who you play.
Yeah.
Every game is a tough game, and you could talk about the best teams in EYBL all the way down the line. Like we took Spire and Link to the more so Link to the end. And it's just every game comes down to possessions games, and it doesn't matter if a team, has 1 win or is undefeated. So I expect the same, for all the games. Really looking forward, besides our games, to that. Sunday is going to be special between Spire and Oak Hill, and then us playing Tennessee Collegiate, which is, different types of styles, us being more open court, where Tennessee is really trying to pound it down low. They play a matchup zone. So, I expect, high energy. There's going to be high energy in the gym. We'll have a DJ in the gym.
Okay.
We expect a lot of fans throughout the entire weekend, but really high-level, high-flying basketball. Maybe your viewers might not know a lot about it. And I think the big difference between EYBL Scholastic and, you cover predominantly New England prep school basketball, right? So the difference is kind of the talent, right? And not to say the teams are better, because a lot of the higher level teams in New England can compete with these teams, but just the prospects is just a super high level. And so all these teams have kids that potentially will play in the NBA one day, at least one of them on most of the teams. So that's the biggest difference in just the prospects that fans will get to see.
Yeah. What if you sense talking to these teams, are they excited to come to Boston? Or I don't know, some of these kids probably haven't been to this part of the country, and have you warned them that it's going to be like 10 degrees? And
so we just came back from Western Maryland, and in the mountains of Western Maryland. It was like 40 miles from Morgantown.
Yeah.
And so we were in the mountains. I think it was minus 17. So these teams are kind of used to this weather, but I'm sure they don't love the weather. And we travel so much. So like this past weekend was the first weekend we didn't travel since probably 4 to 6 weeks. And so the travel is so much that these teams are kind of, it's just the next weekend. And it's almost like, you know, a high major college basketball travel schedule. So like after this upcoming weekend, we actually go to Spire in Ohio, and we have 2 games. We'll have to play Spire on their home floor, which should be fun. But you know, that's why the kids come to Cats Academy, to play against this talent and to play in front of these type of people. And you know, the recruiting landscape has changed tremendously over the past 3 years, where we would normally see a lot of our kids, you know, already signed, but you know, people are waiting. College coaches are waiting for the portal, and it's just changed. It's changed tremendously, and so, you know, to have these kids be on this stage, so every game college coaches are watching, whether they're watching live or, you know, fortunately, you know, you could go on League Ready, has been having a lot of the games. I don't think it's on League Ready. It's going to be on Huddle.
Okay.
But all these coaches are watching. You know, we get texts all the time from these high major coaches just watching. And so it gives these kids a platform that they don't get, which is a tremendous advantage for them, you know, in the changing landscape.
Yeah, you have hit on a bunch of things I want to ask about. But again, one of the really interesting aspects of your program, kind of just to recap a lot of what you said, is you are one of 2 New England programs that are in the Nike EYBL Scholastic Circuit. And this is your first year. So I imagine there's a lot of just like a learning process of what it feels like to go through a season like this. And so for you, we talked before this podcast, you have 5 teams that you are thinking about constantly. In addition, this top team is traveling around the country now, and that just takes a lot more hours and a lot more focus than staying largely in New England. How has that been beyond being a coach, but like an administrator also and a planner? Like, how has that been for you, just going through the rigors of this schedule?
So people really don't understand what goes into this, and I would say 20% of my job is basketball on the court, and the other 80% is a lot of administrative.
Man.
And so we do have 5 teams, and I do need to correct you. The EYBL team is not the top team. We have 2 top teams.
Oh, you're right. Yes.
Okay. So we have our EYBL Scholastic team, which is essentially high school kids. So you can't reclass and play EYBL in your 5th year. You have to, you know, go to the prep route. So these are all 4-year high school kids on that team. But we also have our national team, which plays a AAA schedule. Those kids are college scholarships as well. So, you know, we have 2 top teams that are all college talent teams. And so it just, you know, different kids come, you know, for different reasons. We have a huge international element at our school that are on both teams. We also have a varsity team, a JV team, and a girls team. So 5 teams that, you know, we have to kind of schedule and things like that. So, you know, it's part of the job to kind of manage all of those teams.
Yeah. And for your players, as you have coached them through that level of travel difference and just like kind of the discipline you need to have to be focused when there's so much more than just like a bus ride at this point, how do you kind of coach them through the other stuff around basketball?
So everything we do is trying to prepare them for the next level, whatever next level that is for each kid. And so, you know, this is a schedule that you will need in college. So, you know, you're going to miss classes. So how, you know, we kind of make sure you got to meet with your teachers knowing that you're going to miss work. And, you know, the travel schedule is rigorous. Last week we left on Wednesday, and Monday and Tuesday were snow days. And so they missed a week of school because of the travel. And so they need to make up that work and work with the teachers. You know, and with what's going on with the weather, you know, we've missed flights and we've had 2 a.m. wake-up calls.
Wow.
And that's just what it is. And so it's, you know, we prepare our kids for the next level. So we're in the gym the kids were already in the gym at 6 a.m. This morning. 3 workouts a day plus strength and conditioning. And, you know, that's what they have to do in college. And you know, the landscape has changed. You know, it's about money right now. And college coaches are bringing in kids that can help them keep their job and be successful. And so, you know, we're taking that approach of getting them ready earlier. So if your goal is to play at the highest level possible, play in college, and some want to play beyond, you know, we're preparing these kids for that. And so it's the travel. The EYBL team gets to travel by plane, but the national team, you know, they have to get in a van and drive 3-4 hours to places that you guys are familiar with, and it's tough, but it's preparing them.
Yeah.
I wanted to get a little bit into just how the season's gone and some of the players on your roster who I'm familiar with for covering them the last few years. But just generally, I know we were talking last weekend at NEBL, obviously dealing with some injuries and guys being out. But how has the first season gone, kind of maybe compared to what your expectations were going in? Obviously, it's the first year of a big move. What's kind of stuck out to you so far?
Yeah, so the level is the highest level I've seen.
Yeah.
And I have experience at the regular EYBL in the summer, and it's kind of a continuance of that. But like the best players from that are on all these teams. For us personally, we really got hit by the injury bug. Like we haven't had Desmond Billat the entire season, which kind of hurt. So we've been very thin, but no one really cares, right? So we have to deal with those things. We've been super competitive in every game. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, we've, you know, just haven't had enough. So it's been a little bit disappointing as far as the record, but you know, as far as the effort's been there, and you know, we're getting better every day, and I see a tremendous amount of growth in the team itself, and both teams. But both teams have been hit really by injuries that have kind of, the one-loss record has kind of suffered a little bit. You know, still we're over 500 in both teams, but not the success rate that we wanted. But, you know, the goal is, you know, first and foremost, you know, we try to win every single game, but really the goal is to place these kids in the optimal situation. Yeah. And so, you know, you wouldn't know that by seeing us on the sidelines, you know, doing what we do, but that's what our goal is. And, you know, we're trying to become a national program. So not a regional program. If you look at our roster is, you know, from kids from all over the world. We have kids from, you know, Latvia and Bulgaria and Lithuania and Cameroon, Serbia, along with kids from the U.S. as well. So we're trying to build an international, not only national, but international brand that, you know, college coaches have to come see us.
And that's actually great. I had pulled up your roster because I wanted to mention some of the places that your players are from. And this is just the EYBL Scholastic team, so you can add others that you know. But France, Cameroon, Ivory Coast, Serbia, Sweden, Latvia, Spain. I think if I counted right, 7 of the 11 players here on the EYBL team are from outside the United States. I've always been fascinated when I talk to coaches who recruit a lot from abroad. Where do you start with just like where you look, and is it very connections based with like folks that you know abroad? And what players they know? Or are you watching a lot of film? How do you make this an avenue for yourself?
So it's all of the above.
Okay.
Okay. So, and depending how you look at it, you have to deal with agents right now. Mm-hmm. Okay. In a lot of cases. And so, you're dealing with agents. You're looking at videos that are sent, word of mouth, your contacts. And so it's all that stuff. So we are an international boarding school. 85% of our regular students are from outside of the U.S. So it's a natural thing for us to bring in international students. We deal with I-20s every day and just all the things that an international student needs. That's not the norm. So, it's just a natural thing for us, and mixing that. It's hard to get talent in the U.S. these days because, some schools have more financial ability to do it because let's be real, like NIL is real in high school and especially in the EYBL. So I would say 80%, and that's a guess, of the teams we're playing, those kids are getting paid. And so we have to figure out a way to recruit that. No one feels sorry for us if we're playing against a kid that's making six figures. They don't, right. They want to win, and we want to win. And so we have to go further to recruit than some of these other schools that are paying.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
So kind of going down your roster, one of the kids who is placed, Jackson Terry. I've talked a lot about him over the last few years. One of my favorite players to watch around here. From Massachusetts, committed to Loyola Chicago. He's been in your program. This is the second year in your program?
Correct.
Just what I know, he was out injured for parts of last year and kind of coming into this season. But and obviously he's playing really well. We talked last week, and you thought he's been outplaying some of these high major guys. But what have you seen from him? What has he kind of meant to your program going into this transition? I
mean, obviously he's our senior leader right now.
Yeah.
So he gives us a lot of our leadership. He's been injured all year, and so he's playing injured right now. He's starting to get better. I think our last game against Link, he had 20 points. He outplayed a lot of these high major guys, and I think he has a chip on his shoulder because he thinks he's better than a lot of these guys. But he's been kind of our leader. He struggled with injury, but he's starting to really come on, and I think you're going to see something special out of him this upcoming weekend.
Yeah. I went to one of your practices in the preseason, and he wasn't practicing because he was still recovering from his injuries, but he was like super vocal on the sideline. I don't know if is that been like a step for him with his leadership, just being more vocal? Like, how important has he been just in that kind of leadership department?
Yeah, I mean, he being an older guy, a lot of our kids are quiet, and especially the international kids, it takes them a while to understand, how you play in the U.S. and how it's played at the next level. We talk a lot about talking and leadership, and we take the kids to college basketball practices, and they can't believe how much is going on as far as the talking. So, we impress it upon our seniors to kind of lead everybody, and so, everyone needs to talk. And so, he's been instrumental in that.
Yeah. And then I want to talk about Josiah Adamson. I think he's your leading scorer, if I'm not mistaken, right now. He had 21 points and 5 assists in your first EYBL win against Utah Prep a few weeks ago. He's been like one of the biggest stock risers just in New England in general over the last year. Obviously playing with Expressions last year. He's at 2027, so he's going into another big year right now with his recruitment. But what have you kind of seen from him, especially over the last like 6 to 9 months in terms of his development.
So he's a big, strong guard, 6'3" guard, big and strong and physical. And, in the open court, he's always been great. And so, what we've been trying to do is to get him better in the half court. So the EYBL Scholastic game is a little bit different, where you would think that it's this open style, and the athletes are so good, so that their transitions, everyone's sprinting back, and so it becomes a half court game. And so he's gotten better and better in the half court. He's actually guarding the best player on the other team almost consistently. So he, in the game you referenced, the Utah Prep game, he guarded Anthony Felici, who's going to Pitt. Tremendous athlete, talent. He played for Vegas Elite in the regular EYBL. And Anthony Felici ended up having 4 fouls in the third quarter. Didn't shut him down, but kept him at bay and allowed us to kind of prevail in that game. And he's just been getting better and better and better. I think his recruitment will really explode this summer. With the change in landscape, a lot of the coaches are waiting.
Yeah.
But he's someone that I believe we've had a lot of high major coaches ask about him. But he's someone that's going to be on a lot of teams' radar.
Yeah. Whenever I watch him, he plays with such like a competitive edge, and I'm sure you've seen that in practice too and in games. Is he one of the most competitive players you've coached, at least, and maybe in your recent history of coaching?
We've had you don't get to this level without being super competitive.
Yeah.
And so he's a competitive kid for sure. We've had a lot of competitive kids.
Yeah.
No one has been more competitive than Jalen Harrell.
Oh yeah.
And he lets you know it too. And so that you have to be competitive to play at this level. And so he's a very competitive kid. He's really grown up with us, and we're expecting big things for him, the rest of this year, but also this summer, and then next season. I think he's really going to explode.
Yeah. Is there anyone else on your roster, even on your Cats Academy national team as well? You got some really good recruits there. You got Jalen Williams-Crawford going to Towson. I was watching an NEBL. Caspian Jones has been playing excellent lately. Avery Council. Who else maybe in your program have you really seen have you really been impressed by this season so far?
So, you mentioned Caspian Jones, and, he's a perfect example of the changing landscape in basketball. 2 years ago, he would be, committed to a mid-major program, I would say. But just a lot of these schools are just waiting. And I think he put up 27 on
New Hampton.
Yeah, on
Right.
New Hampton the other day. Every coach has come up to me talking about, wow, Caspian Jones. And so, it's been a little bit of an enigma with these college coaches, but that's just kids like that have suffered the most about the portal and everything. So, he's going to get what he needs. It's just going to take a little bit longer, but he's a inside out presence. He could post up the smaller guys. He could shoot the 3, 6'6", strong body. He could play, the off guard. He could play small forward, and I think at some of these low majors, he can. If a school goes small, if a team goes small, he could even play the 4. So he's been great. On the EYBL side, Nicholas Mitrovic has been injured, but he has a lot of talent. At 7 feet, can really shoot the 3. So he's going to be on the high major radar just because of the talent. He needs to put a couple things together, but he's intriguing from that side. But we have lots of guys that kind of are on the cusp of doing some things like Valdis Walters from Latvia. A lot of talent. Just needs to. He's gained, I think, 13 to 15 pounds since he's been here, but he needs to get stronger, and that's what we've been working on for the next level. Omar Fadiga from Sweden right now has mid-major looks. He has reclassed to 2027, so he'll be back with us next year. Atir Bol, 6'9", shooter. So lots of guys on both teams that will, our entire roster will play in college at various levels.
Yeah. You've mentioned a couple times the changing landscape and the fact that college coaches are waiting. We see it. Like Steve and I talk about plenty of players all the time who are like, yeah, these are definite Division I level talents, and they are even hearing like interest, quote, from coaches, but it just doesn't translate to offers immediately. And as you mentioned, so many players are waiting, and it all gets pushed back so late. How do you as a coach talk about that with your players who, like, they're doing all the right things, they're having the great games, they're being good teammates, and it's really hard, I imagine, really hard to be patient. How do you talk with them about that?
Yeah, they're nervous about it too, but we just tell them, like, control what you can control and continue to work, and you're on the biggest platform. And so they're watching when you don't even know they're watching. So they're on watching film. We're doing everything we can possible to kind of promote them, talking to coaches. But we just know that unless you're a top 50 kid in the country, you're all in the same boat.
Wow.
And so that's kind of, and if you look at it, like another kid that we didn't mention is Nelson Mujica, who, 6'9", relentless rebounder, high motor, and he's in that same situation where he's playing against top bigs in the country and holding his own, and he's gotten better and better and better, and people who haven't seen him recently will notice, and so we kind of we become counselors as well as basketball coaches to just talk to these kids, saying, bide your time, it'll come. It's just coming later. So it used to be, they were signed before the season, but now it's going to be April and May before some of these kids find a place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we even saw, you probably have more specific examples, but signing later, a lot of players who will reclass back up once they sign so that they can eventually get to school right away. We saw that with a couple guys.
Saw it in like August last year. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's definitely different. I only have one more question. I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to add? Okay. I think my last question for you, Cary, is it sounds like from you talking, it's been generally a very positive experience jumping up to EYBL Scholastic. Again, you're the second program that's done it. Brewster is also up there now and have both left NEPSAC. Do you think, given how things have gone for you all so far, and Brewster's obviously had success, is this part of a trend, do you think? Do you think more schools will look for this kind of national level competition? Do you think there will be other leagues that form to rival EYBL Scholastic? Like, is this a sign of things to come, or do you think you and Brewster are like more isolated cases?
Yeah, I'm not going to speak for what Nike or any of the other shoe brands are going to do. Yeah. I just know we're super excited about being in this league. And, I think the trend is, for a lot of the higher level talent to want to migrate to these types of leagues, just because of what we've been talking about, the changing landscape. The level is very different than what people are used to seeing. Even in layup lines, it's just some stuff that's going on that you don't see in a regular game. So I think the higher tiered, or the teams that are committed to basketball, are going to start separating themselves. And not only with the EYBL, but some of these higher level New England teams, that I don't think enough emphasis is put on that. You know, like, hey, Brewster has been, you know, one of the best schools in the country as far as basketball, but yet it's kind of, they're not in the NEPSAC, so we kind of don't really give them their due. And so, like, hey, they're unbelievable. You know, Jason Smith does an unbelievable job, you know, part of the EYBL, and unfortunately we have to go to Brewster in a couple of weeks and play them at home. It's part of, there's one home game that everyone in the league does, and so we're going to them this year. The following year they come to us.
That'll be fun.
Fortunately, we technically have a home weekend. It's at Curry College, you know, February 13th to the 15th. But so I do think that there's a trend, you know, for these higher level schools, even in New England, to kind of move away from what has been traditional. You know, and you know those teams, those schools, you know, the emphasis on basketball, you know, and being in the gym all the time and working on your skills. And I'm not saying, you know, these schools that have, you know, they treat other sports and things like that, but, you know, we want to be in the gym as much as possible. And so if someone wants to go and, you know, get better and development and reach their maximum level, I would think that, you know, they would want to go to a school like ours, like a Brewster, who puts an emphasis on basketball. And, you know, that I think that's definitely going to be a trend.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, were you? Sorry. I was going to ask, when you look at and we talked a little bit about this last year when you made the move, but when you look at the future of Cats and what the keys to success, there's a lot of things that would attract a potential recruit to you. The location, I know you've talked about being, like 10 miles, not even from Logan Airport. The infrastructure's there with expressions too for kind of year-round development and training, and obviously being in the EYBL is such a huge pull with the competition that you face. What do you view as kind of, if you want, as you continue to improve in EYBL, like what are those keys to kind of continuing to get to that upper echelon?
Well, so the number one key is recruiting.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen a good coach that doesn't have good players, and so
Fair.
it doesn't matter
Pretty
how
simple,
it doesn't matter how much you know. It's players. Players are the key, and so you know we have to step up our recruitment and figure out a way to get you know top players. But you know part of the reason why we're in the EYBL is one. Obviously, we've shown that. You know, we have a commitment to the sport and to the game that, you know, we're about, you know, developing talent from across the world. You know, we work out 3 to 4 times a day, every day. And so, you know, I make 2 promises to all of our recruits. You have no choice but to get better, and we'll give you the exposure. Everything else is up to you. So we don't guarantee which team you're on, we don't guarantee playing time, and we don't guarantee college scholarships. But if you do everything that we ask you to do, all those things will happen. And so, you know, it's a place not for everybody, but it's a place for people who want to make, you know, one, go to school for free, and potentially make a career out of it. And part of going to school for free now is some of these kids are making a lot of money. And so, you know, all those things involved. But yes, the location is key. 10 miles from an international airport. The commitment to what we're trying to do, not only for the EYBL team, but for our national team as well. You know, some of the kids that are on the EYBL team this year will be on the national team. So we're going to see a huge step up next season on that national team. Like Nick Mitrovic will be on the national team next year. And so, like, I see us getting better with both teams and really, having two top-tier national-type programs.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to kind of end this segment. I will say, too, going back to even when you mentioned the layup lines and stuff, because Steve and I have watched a handful of these other national programs at this point. They are, to your point, there are just some different types of athletes that are on some of these teams. And my favorite part with weekends like the one you're about to host is that it's a really great chance for people to have these moments of like, where were you when you first saw so-and-so for the first time? And like, for me, like, I can remember some of these high school events I've gone to where it's like the first time you saw, I don't know, Cooper Flagg, or like for me, it was Cade Cunningham. And it's like, you can have these really cool kind of memories when you're at weekends like this. So that would be another kind of pitch to be there. But yeah, if that is it for now, we can turn it over to producer David Yaz and Full Court Press.
Full Court Press.
Yeah, here we are again, Full Court Press. I have 3 questions for all 3 of our panelists here, and I want you to imagine that it is Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and you have to pick one player to take the final shot. You can pick a player dead or alive, past or present, pro or well, I guess probably we're talking about a pro player here. So you can let your imagination run wild, and I've been stalling to give you a little extra time to think about that. Cary, you're our guest, so how about it? Who takes the final shot for you?
Michael Jordan.
He didn't even hesitate.
No doubt about it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you hoping that he penetrates, or that he does, or he pushes off and sinks a jumper like he was wont to do?
His famous fadeaway.
All right. Hard to beat, but Hewitt, you get to answer as well.
Yeah, I was going to say MJ just because of the history of clutch shots in those moments. But if I would pick someone else, I guess Steph Curry.
All right.
Because he's just probably going to make it more likely, more times than not.
MJ did have a history of hitting clutch shots, but if you listen to the Nike commercial, 47 times he got called upon to take the winning shot and failed. And that is why he succeeded. You guys haven't seen this ad? You never seen that Nike ad? I'll have to find it. Anyway, okay, we got one Jordan/Curry. Ethan, who's taking the final shot for you?
Those are the best 2, so I'm not going to pretend that I'm outthinking anyone here. So I will just pick a different answer, and that's Ray Allen. Just, again, I feel like growing up, I knew all the clutch shots. Obviously, the Heat Spurs one is one of the most iconic calls of our generation, so I'll pick him.
All right. I was wondering if Ray Allen might come up. That's an excellent choice. He was definitely known for being clutch. Even though it didn't involve the Celtics, it still breaks my heart when I see a clip of him on the Heat hitting that shot.
Yeah.
Who did they beat? The Spurs?
Spurs.
Yeah. Spurs had that. All right. Question number 2. It's still Game 7 of the NBA Finals. This time you have to pick a big man. So I'm talking, a 4 or 5. A big man who's going to dominate the paint. A big guy who's going to get that rebound when you need it most, et cetera, et cetera. This time we'll start with you, Ethan.
Okay. I guess it depends what I really want out of my big. If I have another go-to scorer, I'll pick same era. I guess I'll pick Tim Duncan. I'm not saying he's like the best big of all time or anything, but he's up there for sure. And I think he's someone who, if I have other hot hands on my team, he's not going to be a black hole on offense. He's obviously an all-time defender. If I need him to hit a big shot, he can hit a big shot. I feel like he can kind of fit whatever I need in a specific game.
You remember what his nickname was?
The Big Fundamental.
The Big Fundamental. Yes. Excellent. Great choice. I got married in San Antonio, by the way.
Wow.
Saw a couple Spurs games.
Why?
Yeah. Why? Because that's where my wife was from. It's a lovely place. Anyway, Steve, big man.
Might stick with the San Antonio theme and say Wemby.
Okay.
Wow.
I mean, fair.
He's got like 2 seasons under his belt.
I mean,
you get to pick whoever you want.
He's a unicorn. The other name that came to mind was Shaq, just because he'll just physically dominate and just kill anyone in the paint. But
I think get two choices.
Yeah,
Hewitt,
I didn't know I got a front for it
That's
here.
the rule
So, like,
on the show, Cary. Hewitt always gets 2 choices.
Sorry, it's my first time, but I didn't like.
I didn't know
being
that
third
rule.
is tough because
I'm cheating
two
a
of
little
them.
bit.
we will let you have the floor nonetheless.
So like
Cary, go ahead.
so I did think of Tim Duncan, but I'm not picking that. And Steve threw in 2 more, and I did think of Shaq too. But if I need a bucket, I'm going with Kareem and the sky hook.
There we go.
And so like that would be. I'm a little bit older than you guys, so but
It was the sky hook was basically undefendable, right?
you couldn't stop it.
You can't stop it. He's like a couple of yards way behind. There's no physical way you can block that shot. Is it a little weird that no one's developed, at least notably, a hook shot like that since him?
I don't know. I wonder if it's because players are like, so many players are picked for length now. I wonder if it's more difficult to get a shot off now. Although I feel like, I don't know, if you are that long, like if you're Wemby, no one's getting your hook shot. So.
I just think in the social media era, it's not cool, and so
You might be right.
like a lot of these kids, like, oh, that looks weird, and the same reason why
I know what you're going to say.
a lot of these kids won't help defend because they get dunked on, and it'll be all over social media, and we have to you're getting dunked on if you're playing at a high level.
Wemby gets dunked on.
Yeah.
Right, they're all getting dunked on, and we have to hey, you have to help, and sometimes you're going to get dunked on. I think it's kind of the same where that sky hook, it's kind of weird, and they don't want to work on it, and I don't know how many hours he must have done to perfect that, because what a skill where no one has ever been able to do it like him.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were going to say Wilt Chamberlain was a famously terrible free throw shooter, and one season he shot underhand like Rick Barry, and his percentage went way up. The next season he went back to the other way. The only reason anyone could figure is he thought it looked stupid.
Yeah.
Right. So
Right.
there's a physicists have said, I think, that doing free throws underhanded will give you a higher percentage of making the shot, but nobody does it. Before we get to the final question, just to enlighten you guys, so here's that Michael Jordan ad I was speaking of.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed.
How about that? You never heard that before?
I've heard the quote. I have not seen the ad, though.
Apparently no one can verify that he's really missed 26 shots at the buzzer. But
I feel like it's a
anyway.
pretty easy thing to verify. We just go back and...
I know. I
Yeah,
don't.
we'll have to-
Well, if anyone did it, I think the answer is no, he didn't. But but it made for a good copy for the ad. Final question for Full Court Press is: we're still in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and you can pick one individual to be your coach for that game. So any coach you want, living or dead, past or present, etc. And Cary, we'll start with you. Do you have a thought?
What I said earlier about great coaches need great players, so I'm going with Phil Jackson. Always had great players. He had one of the best: Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Shaq,
Scotty.
Yeah, so I'm going with Phil Jackson.
Okay.
It's an excellent choice. It's also arguably a point to be made about Bill Belichick when to the people who say he's never done anything without Brady. Well, Phil Jackson never did anything without Michael or Kobe, but it's not that he that shouldn't detract one iota from coach is coach, Anyway, good choice. Phil Jackson's sort of off the board unless you guys want to go along with that.
Unless your name is Steve.
So let's get ready for 10 choices from Steve.
Right.
Steve, what do you got? Seriously.
I'll go Red Auerbach.
Oh, that's another great
I think
choice.
was he undefeated in Game 7s? Do I have that right? Or is that someone else?
I think that might be right. I'm
gonna go with it.
He certainly won a lot of them, but excellent pick. He'd win 11 championships in 13 years.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those are Game 7. So
Can you imagine these days if a team won 11 championships in 13 years? I think people would scream about it just being boring.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Ethan.
I don't know. I think I'm going to pick same era. I feel like I'm doing this wrong, but I'm going to pick Pop. Because Pop's obviously been great. He's done it with different cores too, kind of similar to the two guys that you've mentioned. Yeah, and I think he is a great tactical coach and a great players coach. So I think that kind of balance is important. So I'll pick Pop.
He also might be the best, even though sometimes he comes off as cantankerous. He's a very thoughtful guy.
Oh, yeah.
Often chiming in about issues of the day, and that makes him more interesting. Mm-hmm. Well, you've all done tremendous in full court press. You all win Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Let's go.
Hewitt wins it several times in a row. He's got 100 people on his team. But well done, and back to you guys to wrap things up.
All right. Yeah, that just about does it for us. Thank you, Cary, for your insight. I think just where your program's at is very unique and different relative to a lot of others in our region. So it's very cool for us. Obviously, a big weekend coming up, too. So we'll be really excited to see the games. And Steve, you have something else.
Yeah, before we go, Cary, where can people find tickets for the games February 13th or 15th?
So tickets are on sale at eventbrite.com. And if you go to EYBL Scholastic Boston Showcase, just plug that in. You'll be able to find it. It is also on the Cats Academy Basketball Instagram. You can find it there. Mm-hmm. The Cats Academy Twitter or X. Mm-hmm. We want as many people out possible to see this great event. Help support. Really, it's a celebration of basketball in the Boston area, and so just seeing the differences between EYBL Scholastic, prep school basketball, and high school basketball, and just a celebration. We want as many people out there as possible.
All right. That's awesome. Great. Yeah. We'll see you out there this weekend. For Cary Herer, for Steve Hewitt, for producer David Yaz, I'm Ethan Fuller. We'll see you next time.